I'm working on a post to my blog about the curve. The curve that has been discovered and revealed by several prominent people throughout history. And it's fascinating that this curve was discovered or revealed independently by different people. And this curve, called the Cornu Spiral, is also called the Euler Spiral, and Fibonacci pointed to its existence. Euler did experiments with springs that produced the curve, most appropriately accredited to Euler. And then Fresnel, a mathematician, illustrated the curve in integrals using calculus. And so there's a couple of Fresnel integrals that express the curve. And then Alfred Cornu, another scientist, using the integrals that Fresnel developed, worked with light and the diffraction of light and came up with the curve. And popularly became Cornu's spiral for whatever reason. And then another guy, an Italian, I think, applied it to a bunch of different things, like highways, and he called it what supposedly is the most popular name for this curve, and yet I have no clothoid or a cloth or a cloth, a clothoid, supposed to be the most popular name for the curve, but easily debated on the web as to how you pronounce it. But so four arrivals at the curve, and it wasn't like any one of them invented the curve. They discovered the existence of the curve in the physics of the world, and came to be able to express it mathematically. And because I can engage Cornu tension in my own body, I am confident that what I'm talking about is not only real intellectually, but sensational, and it's something you can feel as well. So my trademark, the Michael Miller trademark, is an image that points to a sensation. And it's that image and the awareness of how to create the sensation based on the image that empowers you to be more present in your body and to make your body more efficient as it moves through space. More efficient because it's lighter, because You have more uniform muscularity, more uniform muscular engagement. And you do that by creating tension between endpoints. Between the hips and the shoulders as a Cornu spiral. Between the ears and the shoulders as a Cornu spiral. And what's fascinating there is that the shoulders act to facilitate Cornu engagement to the hips, rotating in one direction, the shoulders, and yet the shoulders engage in an oppositional rotation to facilitate Cornu tension off of the ears, a different axis. So at the hips and the shoulders and the knees and the ankles, you've got Cornu spirals overlapping and counterbalancing, counter-tensioning. What was so great about my last post about spiral torsion springs was that it says right there about the spring that the diameter gets smaller and it gets longer. That the diameter, say, of the rotation around your hips is a spiral spring. When engaged, the diameter gets smaller. I would say that the grip gets tighter because the rotation is happening closer to the axis. And I don't know if that's more power or less power, but sensationally, there's a point where it's better to have a grip that's closer than further away. And so by engaging Cornu tension, by engaging a spiral torsion spring, you get a smaller diameter and more length. And when you hook the two of them up to each other, you get a smaller diameter in both of them and more length. So, I have no idea where the rest of the world has gone with Pilates and how they engage with it, but my trademark, the Michael Miller trademark, commonly referred to as Cornu, is for you. It's a map that shows you how your body biomechanically moves through space. Axes around which it rotates, tensions that are created within those axes, along an axis like torsion, between axes like Cornu tension. What's important not to miss is, unlike some modalities that have sprung up on their own apparently and have nothing to do with Pilates and deal with only rotation and spirals, ignore the arena in which those spirals exist. And that means space, three-dimensional space. And in space, there are points, there's 2 points to make a line, 3 points to make a plane, and 90 degrees to make perpendicular planes, and that covers most of the 3D space that we're in. And then rotating between those planes. So before you get to rotation, because it's an implicit part of rotation, is stability in the more ideal expressions of space, straight lines, true planes and parallel planes and perpendicular planes. So Cornu tension in the body. Yields alignment sensation, whether you are or aren't in alignment, but you can get a feeling for alignment, because alignment is sensational. You can tell when something's straight or not sensationally. And that's beyond or before intellectually. How can that be? Well, it's because you sense it. And spirit, I've listened to me talking about spirit, and I talk about it being sensation, but that's not what I mean. Spirit is the observer, and the observer is not the thinker. When you're thinking, you're engaged in thought as an activity. When you're sensing, you're listening to what you're sensing before thought comes into the picture.